Joining me now is musician Dez Money, who has a new song out called Give Me All You Got from his new album that'll be available later this year. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me today, Dez. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Let's talk a little bit about the new song, Give It All You Got. You're creating the song. There's a specific feeling that you're probably going with. I was reading some notes from you where you talked about how, while your background tends to be in rock, you really felt that this was a pop song. And then, as you said in the quote from you, that is sort of a great summertime pop song. So, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so with this song, I wanted to make a feel-good song for the summer, and it's like you were saying, I come from a rock background, and with this one, I wanted to make more of a pop song. And that guitar, that's actually my dad's guitar from Two Tickets to Paradise that they recorded with, and the drum set was used on tour with my dad for over 20 years. So we wanted to show people, where we come from and also where we're going, and that's what it's all about, is showing people the Money family still making music and still doing what we love and doing it and having a great time.
Yeah, and I love that, it highlights that guitar, and as you mentioned, your father, the late Eddie Money, that video that is the guitar from the video, but then your video, I guess you've got a couple of your siblings in there, or at least working on it. So talk about how
Yeah.
it really was a family affair doing this video.
Oh, well, yeah, for sure. I always involve my family with my music and everything. So it was really special for me to have my little brother Julian in the music video working with me, and he's always been playing drums in the band, and we've always been jamming together our whole lives and everything. And I also have my sister Jess. She was assistant director on the video, so she was actually the one that was throwing the cash and making it rain. And yeah, it was actually her idea to use the guitar from my dad's collection. So that was a great idea on her part. So yeah.
Right. And so, in addition to writing, performing, and producing the song, so you directed and edited the music video. So, for our video listeners, they can kind of see you right now. Talk about this room that's just covered in money. Did you create that? Were you lucky enough that somebody had a location like, oh, I got a money room, or how does that happen?
Yeah. Well, I was searching for different locations, and that's one that I came across, and I really enjoyed the vibe of it. It was kind of like a trap house kind of vibe, but I really liked it, and once I saw the money room, I was like, all right, that's it right there, 'cause I thought it went perfect with who we are, and also what the song's all about. It's about just being the best version of ourselves, and giving it all we got. And so yeah, I was really happy that everything worked out the way it did.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that, I guess what you worry about in a video like that is you're using real money. So that's probably the most important job is somebody keeps tabs on it. But I guess maybe that's why you use your family, so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you don't have
totally.
to worry about some production assistant. Like, I don't know what happened. Where did those hundreds go? I don't
Right,
know.
yeah.
I lost them. Well, I think that it's great that that idea to use the guitar from Two Tickets to Paradise. It's a nice
Thank
thing
you.
to commemorate your dad, and I understand that the timing was it was just over about a year ago that we lost him, and I wanted to talk about sort of what it was like for you starting as a musician when you have the resource of somebody that had the kind of success your dad did. Just most except for probably Wolfgang Van Halen, there's probably not a lot of people starting out who can be like, hey, what do I try to do here?
Right, yeah, for me, I was always surrounded by music, so I just loved it so much because it was really the thing I was always best at doing. So it was always really my identity. When I was going to school, I was the music kid, and so that was always something I was very proud of, and I always worked as hard as I could to be the best musician I could be the best artist I could be. And my dad helped me a lot along the way, just by showing me how to do it, how to be a great entertainer, how to treat the fans, and how to do everything that a rock star does, but keeping it professional at the same time. So I was really grateful to have that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the important thing. And I think there's sort of a fun thing, because I was watching some of your videos on your YouTube channel, and then just sort of came across, you look at anything on YouTube, you go down a rabbit hole, and there was a video from a few years ago, but it was your dad performing Take Me Home Tonight, but you and your siblings, I guess, were all on stage with him. So that must have been great that, he was sharing his music with all of you, and even when you were much younger.
Uh-huh.
And that I don't know, I think that it's got to be great to like you said, you're just always surrounded by music, and somebody that obviously, had that kind of success and could take you out for some shows. That must have been fun. Did you do it as like
Yeah.
a really little kid, or was it when you were a little bit older that you started doing stuff like that?
I remember one of my first memories was I was in a drum lesson with his drummer, Johnny Snyder, and I was always just completely surrounded by it. And so even when I was a little kid, I wanted to be in his band, and I didn't understand at first, why I couldn't be in his band, and I was only 3 years
Right.
old. He's like, you just don't, you're not professional enough. You're a little kid, But as a 3-year old, I wanted to just be in his band, and so that was really special that I got to do that later on in life. After I earned it. I before I was on tour with him, I was actually setting up the stage. I was a roadie, and I would set
Oh,
up the
cool.
and every before the show and after the show, so I know what goes into the show, and I have so much respect for the guys that set up the stage and the techs and everything that help get the show going. So that was something that was really special for me too. Growing up was just learning how to everything that goes behind the show. And so when I was finally able to get on stage with my dad, that was really special.
Yeah, no, I would imagine. And, I guess, how you guys did like a family reality show at one point too. How long did
Hmm.
you do that? And what was, what did that teach you about, suddenly your private life? Obviously, your dad was a public figure, but all of a sudden, when your life's on TV, what did that teach you sort of about, fame and
Uh,
what the
for,
repercussions can be?
yeah, for me, we did a couple seasons of it, and at first it was a little, hard to get used to because everybody would, there's the crew would show up with their huge cameras in the house at like 9 a.m. first thing in the morning, and it wasn't scripted, so a lot of the times we were I felt like I was having to entertain guests, but all the guests had their cameras out.
Right.
So I don't know. It was a little stressful at first, but as time went on, we saw, once we started seeing the episodes and started seeing how they edit things, we were like, oh, this is actually, we're lucky to be with a good network that really cared about us instead of one of those networks that kind of just treat the people like.
Yeah, because it was on Access TV, and I mean, anybody who has Access TV, it seems like their focus really is on music and musicians. I mean, some of
Exactly.
the great stuff you can see in there, and some of the reality shows they have and stuff. Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
and then talking sort of about just watching the production around, you were talking about how you actually directed and edited the video, the latest video. So that must have helped sort of, just you hear like a director, a guy like Ron Howard, he's on Happy Days Forever. So all you have to do is
Mhm.
just kind of watch what's happening, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So that you must have picked up. Obviously, you're picking up music from your dad, but then just learning some of this technical stuff just from having it in your house all the time, right?
Exactly, yeah, and that's a good point. It's all about experience, and yeah, that's what it was. That's for me. It was just like getting comfortable with the camera and stuff like that, and it kind of took a lot quicker than I thought to get used to everything. And once I was used to it, it was actually not too bad. I really enjoyed doing the show, actually, so that was fun.
Yeah, and then sort of talking about some of these technical things, another recent video you did was for a song called "Lost."
Hmm.
Yeah, "Lost," and that one has some. It sort of looks like an old home movie. It
Right.
has some
Yeah.
effects, like the VHS stuff and some of the
Uh-huh.
the flashes and stuff like that. So, talk about kind of going for that feel of taking it and making it look like old home movies, and
Yeah.
actually giving people that aesthetic from that video.
Yeah, well, with that song, I wanted it to be like somebody found like a lost VHS and then put it in the VCR, and then that's what played. So I kind of wanted to go for that kind of vibe, and so yeah, it was really important for me to kind of like go over those effects, and it was a lot of fun to like go through the transitions and make it kind of old school looking, and make it look like an old VHS. And so yeah, I had a lot of fun making this one. This one we made in about just one day with the same crew. So I got my
Yeah.
friends. It's a pretty small crew, but we get it done, and we have a lot of fun when we make stuff happen. So yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, again, our video listeners can see a little of it, but all this stuff is on your YouTube page. And then you have
Mhm.
there's another recent video for a song called "Trippin'," and that seems to have just that. I don't know. I was watching that. I'm like, this just must have been fun. Like, oh, let's go for like really weird, trippy effects and
Yeah.
stuff all along the way. So, I mean, it just looks like And that's kind of the beauty of the way technology is now. You know, you're talking about how you don't have a huge budget and it's, you know, just making it with friends, but it doesn't matter. You know, I mean, you know, I'm sure that if somewhere, you know, there's budgets from music videos your dad did back in the 80s, you know, when when record companies spent a fortune on them, you
Hmm.
know, and now it's like, well, you could have something that looks better than that you made on your iPhone, you know.
Yeah,
So it's kind of crazy to think about it in that way. But talk about the tripping video. That, I don't know, to me it just looked like this must have been fun to put that together.
yeah. The Trippin' video was great. I had the same crew as these other two videos, and we just went out to Joshua Tree, and I have a buddy who's got a place out there, so we spent the day out there, and we were kind of just, we found different spots that we were just driving past, and we are like, oh, let's get out of the car and film here. And that's kind of how we filmed the Lost video as well. Is like we found spots that we thought would look good, and then we would just get out and shoot in different places. And then there was a lot of footage for me to go over when I was editing it, but it was a lot of fun. And with Trippin', I was going for more of like a Beatles kind of vibe, Yellow
Sure, yeah.
Submarine. And so the animators I worked with are the ones that I've worked with on all of my lyric videos that I've released, and they just did such a great job. They totally understood my vision, and once I said Yellow Submarine, they're like, all right, cool, we got it. And so yeah, it was, I
Yeah.
love how that transitions into the cartoon world. When the bridge hits, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's funny now that you mentioned Yellow Submarine. I'm like, oh yeah, of course. And you know, the YouTube channel, as with much of your social media, is Dez Money Music, and
Hmm.
DEZMONEY. It seems apparent, but we want to make sure that we get the word out there, as it
Yeah.
were. So, your debut album came out in 2015, and then you had another album called Blue last year. So you've done a few songs for this album. What's the
Hmm.
plan? Is there, you know, do you have a date circled on the calendar? Although not literally, because I'm sure it's like on your phone. But you know, do you have like this is when we want to put it out, or it's like let's see how we, you know, a few more songs do? What is the plan for the new album?
I'm still going over it. I might release another single or two before
Mhm.
releasing the album, but the album's already ready to go, and so I'm hoping early next year. We'll see. But yeah, it's ready to go, and yeah, really excited to share it with everybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that makes sense. And you know, part of the sharing is, of course, being able to go out and do some live shows.
Little
Where are you at with that right now? Have you done any lately? Are you yeah, because there's tons of bands that are out there right now. You have a lot of bands who plan on being out there, and then they're like, you know what, we'll wait till next year. And then, you know, everything in between. You know, you'll have a few bands who just do some festivals and stuff where they
right.
feel that they can get it in. So what are you looking at right now in terms of doing live shows?
I think we're gonna just start with something small and play
Mhm.
it safe and play everything by ear. Probably just something around here, Southern California. Maybe do like a little small tour around here. Just smaller club venues and stuff like that before we figure out what's going on with everything. And yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of the thing that's easy to do. I live in
mhm,
LA, so it's like, yeah, you know, most of the year, if you want to do a show outside somewhere, you can, you know, and I think a lot of people are happier to go to stuff like that. But you know, it's not like there aren't shows at the Whiskey and the Roxy and all those places too. So
right,
it's all just sort of figuring out what the performers are comfortable with and what people are. And you know, I think that people are very excited for getting live music. So it's however you can do it. You know, I mean,
exactly, yeah,
I I've been to, you know, I went to see some bands at Dodger Stadium, and that's huge outside. So it's like everybody seems to feel pretty good there, and you know, the
yeah,
amphitheaters and all that. So this is the time for it. And then, you know, in other parts of the country, it's like, well, you can't be doing, you know, out probably like a month from now is like what's like, well,
hmm,
we're not going to do some outside shows like near the beach in New York. So it's
right,
probably good to kind of, you know, plan that around this part of the country to see how it goes in terms of getting the album out there.
hmm.
So we've got about 3 songs now, and so you're saying you might do one more, but it's all finished. Are you sitting on the name of what the album will be? Is it all a part of a big release, or I mean, I'm sure
That's
you
all.
know what it is.
Yeah, yeah, that's all. I'll tell you guys later, but yeah, at the moment it's kind of a secret. Yeah.
No, that's good. You know,
Yeah.
just keep the focus on the new song and the video right now. Give me all you got, which as
Mhm.
we mentioned, you did you know, you did all that work for it yourself, and you had the family and you know, your dad's guitar, which is a very cool thing to have in there. So as I mentioned, your social media, Dez Money, and then there's the website is always easy. You know, some people still like to Google a website,
Right.
dezmoney.com, but
Yeah.
then But then Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of that is Dez Money Music. And
Mhm.
there's plenty of stuff on there. There's the 3 videos I referenced, but you've got some acoustic versions and some songs from some of your earlier albums. So, like I said, you can end up you're getting lost in the YouTube rabbit hole, as I mentioned, and it didn't take long before the video I saw, I think, with your dad and you and your siblings performance from like 6 years ago, So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you just click 3
Journey.
times and you're like, what am I even, somebody like had filmed it, at like a fair or something. And I'm like, well, this is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely a journey. It was great being on tour with my dad, and he has such great fans, and I was really happy that he shared his fans with me because they're really a really great fan base. So yeah,
yeah,
very great.
you always and when people when he passed and just in general, when people talk about your dad, there's usually like a variation on this story that I've heard. This this guy on Sirius, a lot of people know who he is. Eddie Trunk talked about interviewing your
Yeah,
dad, and that your dad came and they filmed an interview,
pizza.
but he like bought pizza for like
Yeah,
everybody in the crew. He's like, come on, everybody sit down. And and it's just like that's just like a guy's guy, and let's just say that not everyone who gets interviewed for VH1, MTV, or whatever, not everybody's going to show up with pizza. Let's say that
yeah,
that's rare, and we don't want to name any names, but it's great. It's great when you hear stuff like that,
yeah,
when
definitely.
somebody that you just admire from afar is a great guy. And obviously, look, you guys did that reality show that you mentioned, so you have some of the best, most professional looking like home videos you could ever have of your family. So that's
True.
got to be great to look back on. And obviously, the experience you shared with him was terrific, I'm sure. Well, I love the new song, and I look forward to hearing more. I mean, I liked all the songs that I heard, but the big
Thank you.
focus right now is what we want everybody to pay attention to, which is "Give It All You Got." And like I said, they can find everything Dez Money Music, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Dez, I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with me today. It was great to get to know you, and I look forward to hearing more when the album's out.
Thanks so much for having me on the show. It was great talking to you.
All right. Thanks again. And that was Dez Money, Dez Money, as I mentioned. Thanks again. Oh, you know what? There's a question in the chat. Let's just, even though I just wrapped it up, but
Oh,
Cami Egan had a great question. I don't want to leave
yeah.
the audience out. So besides your father, who are your other musical influences? I'm glad I saw that right before I clicked off. But
I have
Cami
a
Egan asks, yeah, besides your father, who are your other musical influences?
I have a lot of influences, but my parents were always huge Beatles fans, and they always listened to the Beatles, Prince, Michael Jackson, the Eagles as well. But I also grew up with like Radiohead, Jeff Buckley, Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana. A lot of the '90s artists that I loved so much. So yeah, those are
Well,
some
it's
of
great.
the
It's
artists.
great. Yeah, because it's like, you have those artists, but then the ones you're talking about obviously would have influenced a lot of them,
Mhm.
and God, when you talk about Prince, like just like a week or two ago, I interviewed somebody who had written a book about Prince, and just I had read this book, and you're just like the amount of music that was in that guy's head, and it wasn't
Yeah,
all like it didn't it was so different, and you can listen to a Prince album and it go in a different direction. So I think that's great. Well, thank you for the question, Cam Egan, and
thank
Des,
you.
thanks for thanks for sticking around for the extra minute. I had
Oh, for
said
sure.
goodbye, and I'm like, wait, but Des Money, DezMoney.com, and Des Money Music social media. Thanks again, Des. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right.